How's it going, guys? I'm Ty. Welcome to my channel. I'm aware that I'm a very shiny person right now. It's really hot in here. But anyway, this is my new channel. I'm going to be talking about music here. And that's about it. That's my intro. So yeah, let's get right into it. Today we're going to be reviewing the new sophomore LP from The Range, aka James Hinton. And this album is called Potential. Hinton is a New England hailing and Brooklyn-based electronic music producer whose 2013 debut, Non-Fiction, displayed his knack for beautifully layered productions featuring hard synth basses, swirling instrumentations with pianos and synthesizers, and sampled vocals and instrumental elements that were all backed by these trippy, fast-paced 808 beats and break beats that take a page out of the book of UK drum and bass producers. This earlier work focuses heavily on the sequentially fading elements in and out of the mix in a way that is less than immediate at times, but almost always hypnotizing and makes for a really rewarding and cerebral listening experience. This was one of my favorite projects from 2013, so when I started to hear that singles were trickling out for this new release, I was very excited to hear what Hinton had to offer on this new release, but I avoided listening to the singles because I wanted to hear them in the context of this new album. But here the album is now, so let's talk about it. What I wanted from this record was an expansion of the sonic world that was created on Non-Fiction, but I knew to expect a heavier implementation of sampled vocals based on things I'd read in interviews with Hinton promoting the release of this record. And what I got was basically exactly what I expected, and I'm very pleased with the results. What we have here is a collection of tracks with very similar running times and track structures to the Range's previous work, but with slightly more refined mixing and production sensibilities, and also a few new ideas thrown into the mix here as well. There are small stylistic changes that are presented here and there that add something new to the Range's sound without damaging the characteristic flow of the record. One of my favorite examples of this, 5/4, sits towards the middle of the track listing. It starts off with these low register stuttering synthesizers and hi-hats and pianos that are just threatening to wear out their welcome when they transition into what is inarguably the most purely hip-hop track that we've heard from the Range this far. Rapped verses pervade this song almost all the way through, backed by a steady boom-bap beat, dark bass, gorgeous tinkling pianos in the background, and these really cool energetic kick drum fills. Though the vocal samples are slightly longer than the vocal samples that Hinton usually uses in his production, they are somewhat short and they are repeated throughout the track. So as usual, the beauty of the Range's production here doesn't lie in the lyrical content, but rather in the way the instrumentation surrounds and evolves around that lyrical content and gives it context and gives it emotion and feeling. And that's what's so cool about his work. On Florida, we get familiar instrumental tropes that we're used to with Range's work, but it's presented in the context of this really straightforward song structure, at least for him, and these beautiful female sung vocals that were sampled from a YouTube video. I mean, if there's a song on this record that's going to get radio play, this is it. Sung vocals are present again on Falling Out of Phase, which is the Range's version of a breakup song. It's got these soulful yet kind of breathy and murky vocals about falling out with a lover. And while this song is beautiful, the execution of the vocals here is just not as enthralling to me as it is elsewhere on the record. This song is followed by No Loss, which is my personal absolute high point of this album. Foreboding bass, pads, staccato strings, and ethereal choral vocals slowly swell with this fantastically executed breakbeat to this shift in the instrumentation of these new drums and synthesizers that kind of play with the song's rhythm and tune in a way that's just so creative and so exciting, and it just gets your head bobbing, and I was smiling throughout the entire thing. This is definitely a nod back to the kind of production that we were hearing on Non-Fiction, and it's essentially just the Range doing what he does best, at his best. Fantastic track. Which brings me to the closing track here, 1804. I find the vocal presence here and the bouncing synthesizers that are present to be very reminiscent of the previous album's closer and highlight Metal Swing. However, I don't feel as if they're presented here in a way that is as engaging or emotionally stirring as it was on that track. Another letdown was the preceding track to that, So, whose climbing melodies and repetitive, very short vocal sample that kind of go throughout the entire track really just doesn't do much in the way of exciting me. The instrumentation grows and builds throughout the song, which you would expect from a range track, but it doesn't really do it in a way that adds much dimension or depth to the song. In contrast, the second track on this record, Copper Wire, follows a similarly linear progression. However, the rap verses in the middle of the song and beautiful synth chords build into something stirring and bright and triumphant, and by the end of the track, you're just ready to go. You're ready to experience this album. I feel like it follows a similar structure, but the execution was just there with that one. So in closing, is this album a somewhat mixed bag? Absolutely. But the highlights here are more than enough to provide me with my range fix for now, and it's just got me really excited to see what Mr. Hinton has in store for us on his next upcoming projects. The less stellar tracks here aren't offensive, they're not bad. They're usually beautiful and lush with atmosphere, but they just don't excite me as much as some of the other work here. I still find nonfiction to be a better straight-through listen, but I'm really happy that the range came through here with another really strong collection of material for me to listen to.